after the show, I went out and I got a set list, so I was hoping to maybe get it signed. And I went out to where the buses were, and Susan came out and she signed it. And I said, "Well, could I get a picture?" Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So I was fumbling around with my phone and I was having trouble. And she took my phone. She said, "Here, honey, just let me do it." And she took my phone, put it in portrait mode, and took a great picture of me and her. And I'll never
They
forget
are pros at selfies. It's not their
it.
first rodeo. If you're taking pictures all day long and all day night, you're definitely gonna be
She
good
was
at it. And
she
give
was
me that.
super.
Just you're taking too long.
Yeah, she was super cool.
Yeah, no, that's a funny. So again, like just the access that they give to people is so cool, and I definitely appreciated that. With my experiences over the band, the access that I've had, here and there over the years is just totally cool.
I mean, yeah, the access to them is great. I mean, I've met them several times. I've met most of the band, and I mean, every time they're just, you don't expect them to be as humble as they are. But I mean, one time they played the Tennessee Theater, and I had, gotten the tour poster and was kind of waiting around. I was talking to some other people, and it was a cold night. And then, we just see this guy walk up. He's got a heavier jacket on. He's wearing a Jacksonville Jaguars, snow cap. And we don't think much of it. We're just standing there talking, and we look over and we're like, oh, that's Derek that's standing right there with us. Doesn't say anything. He just comes over and is just chatting it up with us, and nobody noticed. We're like, oh, that's Derek that's standing right there with us, and nobody knew. And then once we knew who it was, we started, talking to him. But that's just funny because he comes out in a heavy coat and a snow cap, and it's just one of those interactions, that they're just so, I don't really want to call them normal because I mean, but truly they are normal people in a sense once they get off stage but the access is awesome. I mean, you wouldn't think you'd be able to just, go around by the bus and, oh, here comes Susan or Kebby or Mike or whoever it might be. And I mean, I think the first time they played Knoxville, I got a set list and I was back there getting most of them, and I was short by like 3. And Mark Rivers walks around, so I went up and I get him, and I'm like, "Hey man, I haven't seen the last 3 members. Are they still inside? Are they on the bus?" And he's like, "I think they're on the bus." He's like, "Give me your paper. Let me see what I can do." And he opens the bus door, and he yells their names, and I think one of them was let's see, who was it? Kebby, and back when Maurice Brown was with him, and he yells up there, and they're both like, "What? What do you want?" And he's like, "Can y'all come down here for a minute?" And they were like, "Yeah." And they come down, and Maurice Brown was like, "Man, I thought we were being arrested or something." The way they was yelling up into the bus, he's like, "I'm like, man, all I want's an autograph." I'm like, "I don't know what anybody else wants." I'm like, "I just want an autograph on a set list." And they just got to laughing, but it just shows what good natured people they are. And I mean, last night, to switch a little bit, I loved Gin House last night with Mike on vocals. I had never heard that before, and that blew me away. That was an absolute highlight for me.
Yeah, that gets the place going for sure. And even speaking to like how friendly all the band is, just like for me personally, just like thinking back to Kofi, even when he was part of the band, of course. Um, at a show, I went up to the stage. I got a set list from him after a show. This must have been like 2014 or 15, and we started talking about music. And this guy's asking me questions: whether do you play guitar? Do you play slide guitar? What are you up to? He's asking me questions like that's just totally amazing. Like you just don't get that. We have to appreciate this, and in some regards, like we all want to bring our friends to shows and increase the popularity of the band and get them younger fans and this and that. But there is part of us and me at least that's like, oh, let's keep this to be our own little secret club, if not just to keep ticket prices down and access to the band, high in some regards, because that's cool for us that we have this intimate experience both in the show, outside the show, and even with each other. Like just for me, connecting with you guys and fans, that's been a totally unexpected thing for me. Like I just figured, oh, I'm gonna do a podcast and talk about the band, and I'm not even sure where this is gonna go, but I'm connecting with dozens and hundreds of people who love the band, whether they're fans or daughters of people who work for the band or musicians, just like all different kinds of people. And it's great that this band brings us together. Anything else we should cover or talk about? I'll kind of give you guys the floor to bring up any other highlights. I appreciate the time so far. I know it's getting a little later on the other part of the country, other side of the country.
I mean, I was just going to say back to what you were saying is when they come and meet fans and how nice and humble they are, they're like that all the time. Every single one of them. I mean, they all treat me like their daughter, besides the younger ones, more of a friend than. But like Derek and Sue especially, they care so much about like what I'm doing, and I always feel like you have so much more important things to worry about than like what I'm doing when I graduate or like where I'm headed or what I'm doing. And they always take the time to come up and talk to me and like check in, see how I'm doing. Always get texts, phone calls on my dad's always on the road on my birthday. So I always get a phone call with him and Susan every year on my birthday, singing me happy birthday at midnight. I
You
get
got
like,
you got recording of that?
no, I don't. Unfortunately, I'm normally with my dad like right before or after my birthday, depending on like when they plan the shows or when they plan them. So it's normally like I'm either driving home from a show, like traveling, or I'm traveling to a show that I get those. But it's very special to me. And I always have felt very much like a part of the family, which is nice. And I mean, I was super close with like Kofi and some of the old band members even too. And they've always just made sure to like make me and my mom, my brother feel very included. And I think that's hard to find and so special.
Yeah, total credit to Derek and Susan, and not just choosing top-notch musicians to play with, but also choosing top-notch people to play with. And like you're saying, that can be a hard thing to find, especially in the music industry. I'm guessing when you got some characters and some interesting people to deal with, and especially in such a big band where Derek and Susan need to add 10 other people, or they added 10 other people to have, everyone be such, of such high quality character. That's just speaks to Derek and Susan. The same for all the crew, and to your dad too, who's been friendly with me and came up and said hello. I'm like, do I even know who that is? This guy's might say, hey Adam, how are you? I'm like, I don't know if I've ever met him before. Just everyone is just super cool and super friendly, and the music is amazing on top of everything.
Yeah, it's such a family environment. I mean, all the crew I love. I'm around them more than I am the band, just because that's who my dad's around constantly. So I hang out with them in their office when I can. When I'm not in the way, I don't. But like when I was younger, I would like work merch tents at like festivals for fun. Or, like even when TTB started and Papa Trucks would work the merch, I would go up and help him. My brother loves to do it. It's just nice to be involved and feel like you're involved and feel like they want you there, want you around. And I think they're so good with fans and like people who love them want to see them. I've been out in public with Derek and Susan, and every time someone comes up to them, they're like sit and talk to them for 5 minutes. I don't understand how they have the patience for that. I wouldn't personally. But
that's what I find myself sometimes being impatient with people, and then I'll think about, Derek and Susan have to talk to every single fan who might just be slightly too annoying and speak and have the conversation last a little bit too long, but they handle everything with such grace.
They're so good at it. It amazes me every time I see him talk to people. And my dad watches, so he's just kind of observing. And I'm like, he's like, they're always like this. They're always friendly. They'll talk to anybody. They won't turn a person away. They're just friendly human beings. And I'm like, well, that's what you need, especially with the way the industry is now. You need nice, good people, good musicians, good crew members. So important, I think.
Yeah, and it's cool that you get to see that and be around it, and I can tell that you know how to handle yourself amongst these musicians and public figures and professionals and all this. And that's definitely well, you learn from some mistakes here and there too.
I mean,
but I think that
around them, but like there's certain celebrities that I think if I would meet, I have no idea how to act. But that's maybe just me as a early 20s.
I think you're just being humble, and you kind of would, at least in your mind, know how to handle these things. And I think just being around Derek and Susan and these bands and these professional artists and musicians, I think that's definitely going to prepare you, or has prepared you for your life and the rest of your life in some ways. Just how to handle yourself. I'm sure you've learned a lot, and just observing how pros and really cool people like this band handle themselves. There's a lot that you can take and be inspired by and learn from, I'm sure.
For sure. They're all so inspiring, helpful, encouraging,